if you grew up in the 80s, 70s, 80s, there were a lot of urban legends going around because
Right.
of the press blackout.
Right.
One of them
Oh,
was,
before we move forward, for those who don't even know what urban legends are, what are urban legends?
well, urban legends are legends that, you know how you have myths that come out, or urban legends are myths that come out of, well, legends that come out of living in the city. Um, like, you know, for example, in the 80s, again, there was the whole snake man in a mall. The whole, there was this chicken restaurant that served rats instead of fried chicken. These are all stories from the 80s. Or in the 90s, there was the AIDS killer who went around sticking people with
Injections.
injections with HIV.
Right.
These are all urban legends. These are all the collective fears of people who live in cities, and they become just stories.
And people tend to believe that.
Yes, and let's see, the Balete Drive, the White Lady of Balete Drive, it's also an urban legend. The film center has become an urban legend. Yeah, so things like that. This one is an urban legend from the 80s, from Leyte. It was used to scare children to not going out at night.
This one.
One of the stories there, the bridge. And it's about, again, this psychic child, me and psychic children.
Are you psychic?
No, thankfully no.
Okay.
If I had a third eye, I would have wanted it blinded.
Okay.
I'm so scared of seeing things.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, it's all about psychic, and I just had to ask you if you were psychic. And then my next question would be, do you see anyone behind me? I know it's Christmas, and I'm not trying to scare anyone, and a Merry Christmas to all of you. But, I just wanted to clarify that. So thank God.
I do have ghost stories, but I'm not psychic. You want to hear my ghost stories before I continue my story?
Okay. Sure. You personally experienced a ghost story?
Yes.
Go right ahead. Because I also have a ghost story. So
Okay.
yeah, all right.
So, the thing about me is, thankfully, I don't know that I've seen it until afterwards.
You haven't seen it. Wait, what do you mean you haven't seen it until after?
I don't know I've experienced a ghost until afterwards.
Oh, so you don't seek out during the actual
This
experience.
is my blessing because I'm dual. Very, very scared of the supernatural. So when I was young,
But ironically, you write about it.
I know maybe it's a cleansing thing. Who knows?
Okay.
You know, people write because they want to get something out of their system. Maybe it's my way of doing that.
Okay.
Maybe if the audience would write, maybe that's your way of doing that as well.
Right, got it. It's like an outlet of expression.
Yes.
Okay, so go ahead.
So when I was young, I love telling this story. When I was young, we lived in a house that we didn't know was haunted. And for some reason, all of us kids were very, very scared. Like, we'd run from one room to another because we didn't want to cross the hallway, things like that.
How young were you?
Very young. I think we moved out grade school. But before that, we were not 4, 5, 6,
Okay.
7. Like, we wouldn't take a bath alone.
Really?
We were scared.
Okay.
Yeah, and it had bad feng shui all around because it had door, stairs, door. Just really bad feng shui.
Door and bathroom, bed and bathroom.
Bedroom. It's bad to have two doorways together.
Why?
Facing each other. I'm not sure. But I just heard it's bad feng shui. I think maybe it's because of the energy.
Okay.
Contra.
Okay.
And so every night, well, not every night, but there were nights when I'd stay in my mom's room. So we were in my mom's room every night.
Okay.
And some nights, you knock on the door. So I'd open it. No one would be there. So I'd be like, Mom.
This is you not dreaming.
This is, no. This is real. This is real.
You're not sleepwalking.
No.
Okay.
This is me, us watching TV, and the door opens. And ask my mom. And then she's like, Mom, no one's here. So my mom and my dad, they're like, my mom, who's a very, very brave woman, she'll be like, that's just the wind. Come back inside."
the wind, yes.
Yeah. So me, not only am I duwag, I'm also very, very dense.
You're dead.
Toto ako.
Okay.
So until we moved out, I always thought, oh, maybe the wind can knock on doors.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So that is one of my experiences with the supernatural.
Oh,
And
nice.
so maybe that's how. So it wasn't, scary. It was just more amusing than anything. So my stories don't really set out to scare people. Like whenever I write, I don't intend to scare people. They just happen as a side effect.
Okay, so why do you write the stories? I mean, what is your intention then? Every time, this is your first book, right, on horror stories.
Yeah.
What was your intention in writing this?
I just wrote. I had. What do you mean intention? I just wrote.
Wrote it and then you just had it published?
Well, Anvil asked if Anvil was asking, and I said, of course, and that's how it got published. I was just really, really lucky, and I had a collection. It takes me a long time to write. I think it took me 10 years to write this, so a story a year.
Wow. How many
Yeah.
stories are there?
Ten stories.
10 stories. So it took you 10 years.
Yes.
So how do you write it? Like, for example, one story you start in January, you end it by December, kind of?
No, it comes. It takes years for a story to form fully. Like going back to the bridge, which is a story about Madame, and in Leyte, where and with a psychic child who here. This it's a story from San Juanico, the building of San Juanico.
Okay.
The urban legend was when the San Juanico Bridge was being built, a few blocks fell into the river and hit an elemental. And
It took revenge.
it took revenge on the the wife of the person who had it built, which was the first lady at that time.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna. Basically,
That's the setting.
that's the setting.
Okay.
That's the setting.
And if they wanna know more
Yes.
of these stories, they can go to where can they actually purchase your book?
Power Books and National Bookstore.
Okay. So
Waking the Dead by Yvette Tan.
that's Waking the Dead and Other Horror Stories by Mr. Vetsat. So this Christmas, so from I should have in October. So from the little cuento, the urban legends and how she got into horror stories, from romance it became horror.
And fantasy, romance and fantasy. Because I used to write for two separate groups of friends. So we had a fantasy group naman. So I'd write quests and stuff for them.
Okay.
So from that, it became this. By the way, people give that out as Christmas
So
gifts.
actually, I was gonna say that. Yeah.
Someone actually emailed me. It's hard to find your book. Where can I get it? Because I want to give it as Christmas gifts, plural. And then she actually went around different branches just to get enough copies to give out. And I was very, very touched when I heard that. Because I was asking the publisher then, where can I get
More copies.
more copies? Yeah, where can they find? Because people have been asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're actually there because with this I was gonna say it is Christmas and you could actually you give this to your friends who love horror stories. I mean back then I was such a sucker for if someone gave me like a horror book, because it's galing how your imagination just takes off and like all the descriptions are there. And I was such a horror fangirl ever since I was a kid. I have no idea why. My mom doesn't understand it. But she goes, I was so much into horror. So yes, people who love horror would appreciate gifts like this. If I may ask, how much is one book? How much?
285.
Wow.
It's pretty cheap when you think about
Yeah.
it. Like, because everything else costs 300 and up, right?
Right.
Yeah.
285. And aside from that, one story was developed for a year. Or rather, at least, I mean, if you think of it like that, because it took her 10 years, it took you 10 years to have all 10 stories.
Yes.
So, I mean, like, really, 285 bucks for getting into the glimpse of an author's mind. And I'd like to ask you, why did you entitle it Waking the Dead?
Well, uh, this was I guess it was more marketing purposes than anything because the publisher wanted horror.
Out there, yeah.
out there. So I thought Waking the Dead was the best. It was supposed to be titled something else. It was supposed to be called Sidhi and Other Stories. It's one of the stories, it's all Palangka award winning. It's called Sidhi. And it's about Quiapo in the future when it's kind of fantasy-ish in the sense that the premise is in the future, the gates between our world and the other world, like where the elementals live, Encantos and all of that, have opened, but they can only stay in Quiapo. So Quiapo's overrun with, tikbalangs, duendes, and so you have like DVD vendors who are duendes, because they're the merchants,
Right,
like
right,
the red,
right.
and you have tikbalangs running around, you have capres, and every night, it's become a pagan place because of something that the first story explains why it's become a pagan place. Something that happened with the Pasig River, and because of this, it becomes overrun with the elementals, and because of this, there's a party every year, which is like their version of the Black Nazarene.
Right.
But instead of that, instead of it being holy, it's become this big rave where everyone just does whatever they want, in honor of the saint that brings it.
I see.
Yeah,
And it's here
it's
also.
here also.
Wow, it's 10 stories. So,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, if you have friends who are horror fans and they just really enjoy scaring you or themselves, again, Waking the Dead and Other Horror Stories by Miss Yvette Tan is now out in National Bookstore and Power Book. So it's only for $285. So this is gawang, well, you're Pinoy.
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 I wasn't sure. I should
Pinoy.
say Pinoy. Yeah.
Pinoy.
Gawang Pinoy. And we'd like to advocate also, creations of our Filipino artists, authors, and the like, because it's not easy to come up with your own story,
No.
how to make characters do what they do. It's like film, yet written down. It's like a script,
Yes.
yet a whole storyboard in it.
Yes. Actually, that the story I was telling you about, the one with the San Juanico Bridge,
Yes.
it took me years to finally write it down. Because when I heard it as a child, I thought one day I'm gonna write it down, and it only happened 2006. So imagine that long,
That gap.
that gap, at least a decade.
Wow.
So
Yeah. So ladies and gentlemen, don't go away, because when we return in the workplace, we'll be talking more about her adventures and how she's able to balance really her time writing for TV, for print, and for, of course, being an author. So if you'd like to find out more, stay tuned. Don't go away.